Everyone, welcome to another episode of Dynasty Underdog. I'm your host, Uriah Dawkins. With me tonight, Billy Beeman and Josh Gorblin. What's going on, guys?
Who?
Jake Abrams.
Josh? Jake?
Oh, Jake.
Amazing. Jake's gone for 1 week and we forget his name.
I forgot him already. My bad.
Love it.
I've rebranded.
Yeah.
Rebranded, renamed. It's all good.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, this is the actual last episode before the season gets going. If you were here live last week, then you may know what I'm talking about. Tommy in the comments already, unlike Red Zone, DU is commercial free for 7 straight hours. Let's get to it. Yeah, if Uriah wasn't here, we might go 7 straight hours. But commercial free for at least 1, maybe 1.5 hours. I will say that is the thing I'm looking forward to the least this season. ESPN ruining my lovely Red Zone. Like, yeah, that's just crazy. Can't believe they're doing that. It's very sad times.
I just hope that's like one commercial.
No, that's definitely, it's ESPN. You think that they're doing?
Well, you know me, like at a time. Like I don't want to see like like if you watch regular
Oh,
TV,
I see what you mean.
I'll do like 3 or 4 back. Then it's like, oh my God. But if they just run 1 30-second commercial, I feel like, every so often, I feel like I could allow that to slide, but it still just feels gross. It's like, it's
You're very forgiving. You're very
tarnishing.
forgiving.
I'm just trying to not freak out about it, but
Don't freak out. It's not worth it. Not yet.
This just shows you how little control the people have over anything. We have no control, even over our fun. We can't even control the fun. The fun just keeps getting ruined. It's amazing. Like
we had something that was perfect.
It was pure. It was pure, untouched.
Nothing needed changed. Nobody wanted any changes.
The craziest part is that we had 2 versions of it. We had 2 versions. We had the NFL Network version. And then we also had the DirecTV version, both of which were commercial free. And now we have none. Now we have
I will tell you,
both of them away.
Billy about kicked me out of the group for saying this, but I did like Andrew Siciliano better.
Me too.
Oh my God.
I agree.
He was my first.
It's ridiculous. Dumbo over there. Come on, get out of here.
You're gonna hate on a man for the size of his ears? Are you?
No, he also is just less good at the job. All right, we're getting off the rails here way too early on Andrew Siciliano versus Scott Hansen. Good God, the Red Zone rankings. There's 2 of them.
Yeah, and Scott Hansen was second. Just so we're clear. Stamp of approval. Uriah and I are on the same page for the first time in a while. That's good to be back.
Really good start.
You told me you were bringing it to me today. You did say that, so this is no surprise.
The worst part is I'm not even making this up. I fully support that.
I know you and your dad. I'm pretty sure watched that version of it this whole time. I don't think I ever really watched that version. Yeah,
my entire life. Yeah,
that's why. It's just something you're used to.
Exactly. I don't like change like the rest of us. Anyway.
All right.
Anyway, let's get into the show sheet.
Let's talk about some news and nonsense. So this is the good time. The unofficial depth charts that everyone's freaking out about. Are they meaningful, and what can we take away? We can take away absolutely nothing, really. One that kind of popped up was the Ben Sinnott one being listed as tight end 3 in Washington. Like, it's because Bates plays a different role than Zach Ertz and Ben Sinnott. If Zach Ertz were to miss time, that's a good thing for Bennett, not so much Bates. I don't think it really changes anything. All sorts of stuff like that. Like Alvin Kamara's rookie year, he was like RB4 on the depth chart. Like, it's nonsense. What Chase Sermon number 1, RB1 on the depth chart, or maybe 2, and then like he didn't even play week 1 his rookie year. Like, come on.
Fair. Do we care that like Elike Manor is starting on the week 1 depth chart, just given the room? Like, because I don't think anybody is like overconfident with who is it? Tyler Lockett maybe, or
Van Jefferson.
Well, we know that. We know Van Jefferson is behind those 2. I don't know, but like stuff like that does seem like it may be real, where a lot of it's not. You know what I mean? So how do you like parse that out, or what do you think, Jake?
Yeah, I think each of them have their own values, right? Like, I think to Uriah's point with Washington, for instance, if they would have parsed out the 2 different tight end positions for what they actually are, because they do play a lot of 2 tight end sets, we would have a better understanding that Bates is truly the blocking tight end, but will realistically be borderline a starter. Like, he's going to be on the field probably somewhere between 70 to 80% of snap share. That's how he was used even last year. Didn't mean that he was fantasy relevant, but if, God forbid, Zach Ertz, probably one of the most affordable producing tight ends out there, along with Hunter Henry, if he were to go down, that is a direct path for Ben Sinnott. Does that mean that Ben now moves up to tight end 1 on their depth chart? Like, it just doesn't have value to your point. Like, I just don't think it's a 1-to-1 match, because the Washington Commanders and their PR team or their social media team decide to put out content in a space that presented in a particular way. And the same thing with Tennessee. I think Tennessee intentionally cemented their wide receiver room in a particular way, where they actually parsed out what their individual roles are, in my opinion. Like, I think we can read into the 3 of them, that being Calvin Ridley as probably the X, Tyler Lockett, most realistically, playing in the slot, and then you have Alec Ironmanner playing is the Z. So I think like that's where we really want to kind of like see what that value looks like in terms of looking at the depth chart. But that being said, like, it is such early days, and I think that's the biggest thing that I want to point out with the PSA is, like, it's such early days to take any value away from a week 1 depth chart. One of my favorite things that I heard this week from the Superflex Super Show, shout out to Tommy Blair and John Hogue, is that they talked about week 1 performances and what that actually meant for the solidification of understanding what long-term fantasy value is going to be throughout the year. So I think it was along the lines of, like, Anthony Richardson finished as a quarterback 4. Derek Carr was QB 6 that week. It's like single off early season performances just don't translate to long-term success throughout the season. And just because an individual sits somewhere on the depth chart, even if it's the unofficial one or the official one, because some teams quote unquote call it the official depth chart, doesn't mean shit. It's like players are still going to be vying for individual spots within the depth chart throughout the season. And most of these players, unfortunately, don't even get that many snaps during preseason. So that's kind of my big takeaway.
Yeah. Jahan Dotson caught 2 touchdowns week 1, his rookie year.
Wow. That's a great call out. Seriously.
I couldn't. I thought he was a terrible prospect. And then watching that happen week 1, I'm like, oh, I was so wrong. No, I was right. But he did catch 2 touchdowns. I was like, holy shit.
And
definitely
to that
need
point,
to be
though,
careful with the early season
means,
signals. Yeah.
And not to like overcorrect too. So like to Uriah's point, it's like you had your predetermined profile and understanding of what you thought of the profile. It's like there's no need to see, especially touchdown performance in week 1, and take that away as actual performance. Like, was Jahan Dotson targeted 12 times that week? No. Okay. So the touchdowns were most likely going to be probably statistically irrelevant more than they were relevant. So let's kind of like move on and understand that profile in a larger window. I'm not saying, turn your face away from Jahan Dotson. That's never my takeaway. It's just, maybe ease off the gas of this is going to be a superstar rookie just because they have one breakout game in week 1.
Cool. And then to go along with that, we also have coach speak season is upon us. So the first thing that came to mind, I mean, we've had coach speak season here for weeks now, but it's a little more meaningful to us now that we have to like try to set lineups and things like that. And really, I think probably for Dynasty, I don't think it matters as much as like the DFS guys, the guys that are trying to make money this week. They want firm, concrete stances from the coaching staff so they can make educated guesses on usage. We don't have to do that week 1, so that's what I would tap the brakes on any of that. But the funniest one was I think Matt McDonald's Ollie Gordon quote from either today or yesterday. I don't know if you saw that they're asking about all these usage, and he's like, yeah, he's either going to get all the carries or none of the carries or some of the carries. Like, because the thing is, he doesn't know how's the game going to go, right? Yeah, so. Got to think about those things.
No, it's a good point. I mean, for the most part, I think you just kind of don't really listen to that the coach speak if you can ignore it as much as possible. It's probably for the best. I do think coach speak index is, if you can, I mean, I think it's probably a paid Discord at this point, but as much information as you can get out of there, they definitely, track that stuff well. So there is a resource for it if you're looking for it. But the best thing to do is kind of just shut out that kind of noise and just watch what they do, not what they say,
Yeah, agreed. And I think this is, shout out to Iston. I think we're really in a space where the usage is going to speak way louder than what the individual coaches are going to be saying about the players themselves. More often than not, like, key plays are going to drive a lot of narratives, and you'll hear a coach probably over provide accolades to an individual player for a touchdown. And it might even be like a 1 yard fullback run by like a Hunter Lepecki or something like that. Like, no shame to Hunter Lepecki.
What a shout!
Like, he just signed a new contract. He's all over my feet.
Cowboys great.
But I think
bring fullbacks back.
Seriously, I don't know why we took them away. That's what Benson is going to be in a few years. Don't worry. And so, we're in a place where I think we shy away from understanding the usage, and we start to see these like big scoring outcomes, and then we attach them to the quotes from a coach. So, like, I don't know, this is just an example. I'm not saying anyone specific, but like, for instance, Bo Collins, he's an undrafted free agent for the Giants. He ended up getting elevated, or not elevated. He made the 53 man active roster. I can totally see him randomly catching a touchdown on like 2 targets in the first weekend. And, Dable will be like, I've had so much faith in this kid from the start of training camp. This is one of the best like rookie undrafted free agent performances I've seen in a long time, some bullshit like that. And people are going to get all over it, and they're going to pick him up, and they're going to try and turn him into a third. And you're just going to be like, Bo Collins isn't going to catch probably another 15 passes for the rest of the fucking season unless like severe injury occurs within this offense. So that's kind of the thing that I want to stray away from, or at least kind of help others not dive down. Because I do think that as much as we all tell ourselves that we don't listen to coach speak, it's like that other voice in the back of our head, and you're like, well, Mike McDaniel said something kind of nice, I think, about Ollie Gordon. Like, even if he didn't say anything about him, he's just like, I think he said his name. I think that means that he's gonna be a beast week 1. I'm gonna start him. And you're like,
well, I think you also need to be careful, like when it's somebody you like, if it's like KLS or something like that, who also is having a similar thing where it's low volume but a touchdown or something like that. Now, I think that I don't think we can just look at right. I don't think we can just look at the usage though. To that point, it's like Iston's asking here. So we're looking for usage rather than that should stick rather than fantasy scores that might be highly variable. Which, yes, but also I think you're gonna have to look at the tape too, right? Like, was KLS dusting guys all day and he happened to just get these 2 receptions because the other players were performing well, or Justin Herbert wasn't looking his way at all, or whatever it may be, right? Like, there's you need to put context around it too. It's not just box score watching. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, especially with the fringe players, you know what I mean? Seeing like what they're actually doing and, how they scored those points, not just did they score those points and did they get the volume.
Cool. All right, so let's recap our NPSS. Everybody knows what that stands for. So I don't need to.
Well done.
What does it mean?
Our non-point scoring season. So
so good.
I think famously was like a Trade Addicts thing. I think I heard from Outhouse, probably the first guy that ever mentioned that, the non-point scoring season. And I was like, oh yeah, that's Dynasty doesn't stop. It's still the season. So let's just check let's self-reflect a little bit. How did we do? So a couple questions here. How did you handle the non-point scoring season? What was your plan? Were you successful with your plan? And what do you want to do better next offseason? And I'll let Billy go first.
Oh, thank you. I'm prepared.
Billy, go.
So thank you. So how did I handle the non-point scoring season? I think I really focused this non-point scoring season, which I've talked about a couple times, but I think I did this because I hadn't had to, but I also hadn't put enough focus in on the teams that were not competing, right? The tanking teams, those kind of teams. So I really put a lot of focus in this off season to rectifying that and trying to put them on a path back to competing at some point in the next year or two, right? So that was really most of my plan, and I do think that I made pretty good headway there. I don't know if I won't be able to say if I'm successful probably for another calendar year, but I feel like I've put myself in a good position compared to what I've done in the past. So I do think, I executed on what I was trying to do this off season. What I would want to do better and try to do better next off season, I think because I honed in so much focus on that, the amount of trades that I was able to get done for my competitive teams suffered. Yeah. And I didn't quite put as much focus on that towards the end of the non-point scoring season these last month or two. I made a couple trades here and there, but definitely I could have taken more advantage, I think, of certain windows for certain players, whether it was rookies or vets. So I missed out on those. And I think I also talked about that a little bit, how I just wanted to be a little bit more active and just wasn't able to really get into that groove just based on, I think, where my focus was and where I focused all my energy. And so I'm hoping next season I can be a little more balanced now that I put all that focus in on the rebuilding teams this summer. I can maybe kind of, spread the love a little bit more next year and get more trades done throughout the summer and hit those windows. Yeah, that's what I got.
What about you, Jake?
Yeah, what about you, Jake?
Yeah, I had a couple of ideas for myself this non-point scoring season, and the two biggest ones were I wanted to slow down my movement on my contending teams and speed up my movement on my rebuilding teams to make sure that they were going in the correct direction. With that being said, I found there to be a couple of windows where I found myself to be most successful there. Specifically on the contending teams, the most success was usually in the January and February window, where I felt like individuals maybe weren't so forward thinking about performance and direction in which players could go. And then for the rebuilders, I found that the value is actually closer to, and no surprise, but closer to the rookie draft. So being able to capitalize off of the value based off of, rookie hype and where individuals saw the value going. The second thing that I also gave myself as kind of like a homework assignment was to spend significantly more time watching individual NFL player tape. So we spent so much time in the early non-point scoring season kind of committed to understanding the incoming rookie class. After the April window, I really tried to spend as much time as possible on NFL Plus or NFL Pro, whatever the fuck it's called, premium. I don't know. Yeah, no ads here. Just gonna butcher whatever the fuck that product is called. And so I watched as much as I could, specifically of about 14 quarterbacks, 10 running backs, and about 60 wide receivers individually, of players that I historically have had negative perspectives on, that I think have just kind of helped me better kind of understand where I want to be within those profiles. Because I do think that profiles naturally change based off of the market, based off of the other voices that we hear in the space, based off of the community, based off of the tweets that are shared. Like, I have started to kind of lose focus on my own thoughts, and I felt like this offseason I was actually doing a lot better with that. The last thing I would add is that with regards to just doing better next offseason, I think I am starting to overload myself with the number of leagues that I'm in, to be honest. And I'm reaching my own kind of threshold, or at least it feels like I'm reaching a threshold. I just don't have the preparedness for being a portfolio player at this time. And so it's creeping to that space, and I don't think it's necessarily something that I want to get into. So being able to manage that next offseason is going to be really where I want to be, so that this doesn't feel like a chore. It's still the same game that I want to play week in and week out. And I just wanted to also shout that out, because I know that there's a lot of individuals within the space that are coming at this with so many different perspectives. We have a lot of people that we listen to that play portfolio. We have a lot of people that we listen to that have 3 or 4 teams, and there's no right or wrong way. It's really about your own balance. And I think sometimes we get caught up trying to mimic what other people do successfully instead of thinking about ourselves.
Yeah, that's a great point. Definitely don't join any more leagues if you feel that way. And it's okay to say no to people. I've said no to but it's hard to say no to people because, number one, it feels good when people want to play this game with you. That's like it, it's almost like a compliment in a way. But also you want to play with some people sometimes that maybe you haven't played with before, but it's okay to say no. Like sometimes you just got to move on and take a break, and eventually either leagues will shut down or you'll feel good about taking on more and you'll be okay. But yeah, if especially for the DU listener leagues, nobody ever feel any pressure with those, man. It's for the listeners. So less competition for me. No, I'm kidding. It's a good shot. What about you, Uriah? What about you this non-point scoring season?
I feel like my intentions and focus was very similar to yours, where I kind of looked at all the teams. You go on like Dynasty Daddy and it shows you like contenders, super team, and all that stuff. And like I take that with a grain of salt. I kind of really based looking at all my teams and where they kind of performed last year, assuming there was no major injuries or like copium that I have like 4 guys on IR, they're going to come back and save me. But basically with my contending teams or teams that made the playoffs, we'll say, those guys I kind of ignored a little bit because I really understood like those guys are in pretty good shape, and moves I can make to make that team better are probably better in season, or as Jake was saying, maybe right before the rookie draft where people are trying to offload guys. But like I really wasn't trying to carry over and pick up aged individuals throughout the summer, training camp, mini camp, all that stuff. Like too much could happen, right? So I pretty much kind of let those guys go and really wanted to focus on something that we talked about at the end of the season last year, where I said I had a couple teams that I was rebuilding or tanking, right? And they all either ended up with the 101 or the 102. But there was a couple teams where I ended up with the 101 and 102, but I didn't end up with a bunch of picks, which let me believe I really neglected my rebuilding teams last year because I wasn't stockpiling picks like I should have been. So I think during this offseason, I kind of tried a little bit to get ahead of that and get a couple extra thirds, even taking up like 27 picks, which I don't normally do. Little things like that. And just trying to fill holes. More recently, like picking up Amari Cooper for 28th, 4th on one of my old teams. If it doesn't succeed this year, then I know where I got to go with it next year. But I think I did okay. I think I did okay in doing that. I feel set up. I spent time on every roster. I remember when I first started playing this game, I had like 1 or 2 teams, and I could tell you exactly all the players in all my teams. I just have too many now, but it's not a lot, like compared to like a lot of people, but there are literally rosters where I'm like, I didn't even know I had this guy on any team, or these 2 quarterback pairings on a superflex team. I was like, oh shit, so I really did get familiar with my rosters where I feel like I just wasn't as intimate with them towards the end of the season last year. So just kind of refamiliarize what I have and what I'm sitting on with picks as assets versus players, and that's about it. I feel pretty good. I'm ready to roll.
I like it. And it's funny when Jake was talking about the like when you found the trades were most fruitful for you. If you look back to like the trade measurement activity or whatever, it follows that chart to a T. It's insane. So if you just keep that, I think I shared it in the Discord. If not, I have it up here. I will share it in the Discord again. If you haven't taken a look at it, it's worth taking a look at because and if you keep it in your mind, it gives you a really clear path on when to make moves or when the best time to make moves is and when most activity is. I think it's a useful thing to keep in your head. More intuitive than you think. But
you're talking about the trade value chart, the circle one?
No, that too though.
Yeah.
Though that does help. I actually have it up. I'll just share my screen so the people here can see measuring trade activity when we did this a couple weeks back. This chart, if you remember.
Yes.
Yeah, so you could see the peaks and valleys and like when things happen throughout the year. But yeah, you see during those rookie draft periods, it really spikes, and that's kind of one of the hot times to hit for sure. Just wanted to bring that back because when I was listening to Jake, I was like, "Is that what?" And I went and looked at it. And I'm like, "Yeah, that's pretty much accurate." But here, real quick, Tommy had a question for me. At Billy, does it make you less inclined to kick teams into a rebuild if it takes your attention away from your contenders during the non-point scoring season? I'm always less inclined to kick my team into a rebuild, to be honest. Not necessarily because of this effect, but yeah, I mean, I want what it makes me feel is that I want to give those teams the proper attention over time rather than neglect them at all, because I think that's what happened is obviously you're like, these teams can win and I want to focus on them. So your other teams may fall behind, but it's like, then you get yourself into a situation where you have to make up that ground. And so you're, less likely to have as much time to focus on those others, especially with as many leagues as we're in. If you're in double digits, it can get, a little time consuming. And also you're like, some of these deals you work for multiple days, maybe weeks, right? Like it's like you're kind of just like trying to dial in and get this team to a point where it can, achieve that goal you want in the future. So yeah, again, I'm always less inclined to want to do it because I want to compete and I want to find a way to do that. But when I do have to kick a team into it, I don't want to forget about it for 6 months like I may have done with a team or two before and just been like, oh, well, it'll get right eventually. Like it won't fucking get right unless the attention and focus, and you know what I mean? And you can do that throughout the point scoring season too with those teams and be really effective with it. The thing is you just have to, you're doing the opposite of what the other teams are doing. So you have to have that, you have to be able to flip that switch with those teams and jump into those leagues and be as active as you are with the ones that are competitive.
Cool. That was really good. All right, next topic. We got how to navigate through the static, which would be, what do you mean by static there, Jake?
Oh, yeah. So I'm just referring to like the static nature of a lot of our leagues. Like they're just not necessarily in a very fluid place because either teams are kind of masking their intentions this year. Some might think that they're contending and they're not. Others might be really strongly contending. The rebuilders don't necessarily want to sell some of their assets because they want to wait until the value grows. So there's unfortunately caused a lot of static. This question specifically came to me when I was looking at D4's trades this offseason, which was an orphan for me. And I was just looking at the historic trading cycle in the past 2 years of the league. And it does have a lot of static nature to it, but there hasn't been a trade in that league since July 12th. And I was just like, what the fuck is going on? And I know for a fact, like in that league, I've sent probably close to 50 to 60 trades since I've joined. And yeah, it's not like I'm static, but people are. Other people are. I've tried to trade with some of the other rebuilders in the league because I picked up, my team was in a rebuild, and they don't want to trade with me because I'm also a fellow rebuilder. And the contenders don't want to trade with me because they think I'm overcharging for an asset. And it's gotten to this place. Yeah, probably. Sure. Yeah. A fourth for Kanata Mumfield. I'm like begging for someone's kidney. So, that's kind of where I took this from. And it wasn't just this league. It's in a bunch where the only trades are like Taysom Hill for Adam Thielen. Like, that's not a fucking trade. Like, sure it is, but it's like, those are two assets that are going to die in a graveyard in the next 12 months that like no one gives a shit about. Whereas in some other leagues, there is maybe a little bit more movement, but I would say for the most part, people are, for lack of better words, playing scared. So that's what I mean by how to navigate through the static.
I mean, it's hard. Obviously, you have managers in that league that are maybe a little too comfortable. right? And I know I'm one. In forward, I feel like that's a pretty strong team, and I don't have any reason to go out and try to make it much better right now. I mean, give me a couple weeks, and then maybe I could see some urgency, have some more clarity about like really where my team is at. So a lot of that is, and I think that probably the guys who are truly rebuilding, they're probably reaching out to guys like me, where I'm like, I just don't really need to do that right now. I'm not really trying to get Josh Jacobs or Alvin Kamara in June. I don't really need to do that. So maybe I'm rubbing off on the people in that league, but it's just one of those things. I think that maybe people do get comfortable where they're at, and maybe they're focusing on other teams. Maybe it just happens to be a unique situation there, but sounds like you're doing all the right things. So don't get discouraged.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
That trade window will open up eventually. People will be sending you picks for your players. It will happen.
I love that feedback. I just want to quickly just bring up, and maybe Billy, you could tackle this. I actually want to talk a little bit more about these things are happening, but how do we as game players learn more information from our competitors?
Yeah.
So like, what do we do when things are static? Maybe like I'm happily accepting the fact like there is not a fucking thing I can do. Like I could literally put, $100 out in front of somebody and they'll tell me to fuck off because I'm going to somehow deteriorate their team or something like that. Like I get it. I understand. But what I do want to state
Jake the Destroyer.
I do
coming to feast on your fantasy team.
Like seriously, D4 of all the leagues, I do feel like when I came into that league, people were like, "Yeah, fuck this. Like I'm not gonna trade with him to save my damn life." And that has unfortunately happened. I think I've gotten one trade done so far, and it has.
You still have the stink of the former owner on you. That's what it is.
Yeah. I'm wearing his clothes or his skin, one or the other. But I do think that we can go about this process as a process. Like I don't think that just because I'm striking out, I'm striking out. And so, Billy, what can we gather? What can we do to learn a little bit more from our competitors?
Sure. Welcome in, Tony. Let's fucking go. So, I mean, I definitely think that there's an element of, I know this is not what you're asking, definitely think there's an element of like, it's about to be point scoring season and I really don't want to make that many moves. You know what I mean? So that's definitely why it's happening. But I think what we're going to have to do is look at the other activities that managers are performing, whatever it may be, whether it's the trades that are getting done or the offers you're seeing they're sending to you. I guess that's some of the offers you would see, but like, the trades and the offers that are being sent by other managers to kind of see, okay, do they really think they're contending or are they getting out of contending assets, right? Like that's one way to, I think, kind of get an idea. Our leagues, the waivers, probably not as much. I think in a lot of leagues, you could probably glean something from what people are doing off of waivers. Ours are just pretty barren because we have so many IR taxi spots and, 25 roster league, like it gets pretty thin on waivers. But I do think you could get an idea about what somebody's trying to do based on certain waiver actions. And then also, I think throughout the year, lineup decisions, right? Like, I mean, again, the way we do our draft order is definitely based on max points for. So it doesn't really matter what you do with your team, but definitely certain people will still, not set the optimal lineup, still start, a startable lineup and certain things like that. I mean, I think you could definitely glean, kind of what managers are doing or what players they are less confident in based on who they're starting, right? Even like maybe they have a bunch of guys who are quality players, but they're not starting somebody over and over again who probably would be a good decision. They're just not in on that player. You know what I mean? Like those kind of things, I think you're going to have to, at this point, look for those little hints and clues. I mean, there's plenty of other things I think we could do. We could also, I mean, we haven't talked about these kind of tactics in a while, but you could definitely throw out little crumbs for other people to maybe latch onto that you're not you don't actually believe in, right? Whatever it may be, like a certain value of a player or trying to trade a player you definitely have no interest in trading. just to see who will bite and get, an idea of who's actually trying to compete, who may be interested in, this kind of asset or whatnot. So those are the things you're going to have to do. Anything else that you think we could do, Jake?
Yeah, no, I think you hit a lot of the points that I had in my head, specifically around diving into the actual rosters that are being set. I think lineup setting is super important. It's like real life football or sport where, a coach doesn't set or start a specific player and then, 2 weeks later there's trade rumors about them. I think that is very much a reality. The same thing will occur here. It's very hard for someone to place, Tyrone Tracy as their starting running back in about 3 weeks if they just don't feel Tyrone Tracy for the first 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Like that is just, I think, a strong reality and a strong place to be in. What I will say is one of my favorite things I've been doing, though, is when I do send out offers, I try to make them as competitive as possible to make the interaction more word-based. I do think that when you are sending out market-friendly offers during these windows, you can actually get more information from the other individual, even if you might not be maximizing in your return, which I don't really always care about. More often than not, I do think that I can actually glean more information from the interactions versus, me trying to sell. And this is something that I've done in DU5, but I don't really care in DU5. I'll openly admit that. Like, I don't need to really change my roster all that much, but putting Rome Odunze out there for 2 firsts, it's like, yeah, no one's going to buy Rome Odunze for 2 firsts. Why would they buy Rome Odunze right now for 2 firsts? Rome Odunze hasn't done anything. So, like, not doing that, but instead, if I do actually want to trade Rome Odunze, like sending out maybe a more secretive offer to 3 or 4 different middling builds that might be interested in him, and sending out maybe a first and second to see if that is striking someone's fancy. And maybe they respond with, hey, I like Rome, but I'd like to see what he does in the first 2 weeks. It's like, perfect. I know exactly now who to go after if Rome has a good start to the season for 2 firsts. Like, it's a very easy way to glean information from your competitors. So that's just an example of a space where you can go to better understand what your assets mean to other people. Let's flip it on its other head. Look at assets that you actually don't like or that you do and try and see what those values look like. Is that person, to Billy's point, that's sitting on the bench right now on someone's potentially starting lineup, because people are already putting their starting lineups out there. Tomorrow is Thursday. Tomorrow is our first kickoff. Who's sitting on the bench right now? Send out an offer now. Even if you don't actually want to get that player done, like, oh, I'll send you a third for Najee Harris. Like, hey, are you willing to trade Najee Harris for a third? I see that you have no faith in him starting tomorrow night, even though, Harbaugh says he's going to start and he's going to play. Like, are you scared of Najee? Do you want to wait a couple weeks? And I bet more often than not, like, that type of offer will still probably get a response. Or you might even have to slightly like pry and be like, hey, like, is this close? Oh, no, it's not. Okay, cool. That's good. Good to know. Thanks. Appreciate it. And just those small things, I think, are what you can do in static environments.
Yeah. I mean, I always say keep your information close, right? Like, I've always said that and I feel like people have either not necessarily gotten on me, but I've definitely seen people out there be like, you should just be able to talk and just send your best offers. And it's like, no, like, this stuff creates those edges for you. Like, what Jake is saying is absolutely true. If somebody says that, you now know in 2 weeks, if X happens, their value is now lower. If I don't tell you that, then you have no idea that just happened, right? Like, it's very straightforward process. Like, it also doesn't have to be super nefarious. It's just a fact. If I don't tell you something, you don't know. If you tell me, I know. So it's going to be to my benefit to find these things out. So I definitely think that those are extremely good tactics. What you're talking about for sure is another one I was thinking about, like those probing offers, which I think they should be competitive offers, right? They should be something that could get done, because now you're going to, like Jake's saying, either elicit a response or at the very least understand where their value's at. You know what I mean? Oh no, they're way overvalued on this guy. Oh no, they're way undervalued on this guy, whatever it may be. You can glean that information almost just from their response. If it's like a instant reject, right? Like, then you're like, oh wait, no chance. You know what I mean? Even that tells you a lot if they don't even talk. So once they start talking, then like Jake said, it opens up the floodgates. You know, never know what can happen. Lefty Joe in here in the YouTube comments, fantasy silent auction for the older assets. Honestly, not a bad idea. He's done this before, not necessarily for the purposes we're talking about, but basically saying like, send me your best offer. I'll accept the best offer on, Monday at 7 a.m., whatever it is. Right. And obviously there's some subjectivity in what the best offer may be, but it's up to him. He is putting this together. And to his point here, you may say you put out Amari Cooper on the silent auction, right? The only people who should be vying for Amari Cooper are people who are contending, if that, right? That's it. Okay. So you're going to get an idea of who's contending just by the offers that come in for him. And if there's 4 or 5 offers, maybe those are the top 4 or 5 teams. Now you may be able to figure that in a different way, but the point stands is you can do this with different assets and find out different things about your league mates. And so if you have a plan going in, I think you can definitely extract some information that, people didn't expect to give away. It puts the lotion on the skin coming from Tony. I think that might've been a Silence of the Lambs reference from Silent Auction, but yeah, well, listen, I fuck with it. Good job.
Oh no, I think it was because I made a reference to wearing someone else's skin.
Oh, wearing somebody's skin. Okay, so we have the silent and the skin wearing.
Buffalo Bill.
It's definitely Buffalo Bill. That's definitely
Buffalo
what that
Bill
is.
was.
Okay.
He liked to wear his victim's skin.
Thank you for the graphic.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, clearly.
When you have a victim, who wouldn't? I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's about to get cold in the Pacific Northwest, so
Oh, thank God. All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about navigating the static?
No.
All right.
I think we crushed it there. Good stuff.
Cool. You guys did great. All right. This one's good. What happens if? So taken from
Give yourself some credit, bro.
Superflex Super Show. Quote from Tommy Blair, friend of the pod, smart kid. What if Caleb Williams flops week 1 on primetime? What happens to his dynasty value? I mean, just straight up, like, we shouldn't let this affect us, like, week 1 stuff. Like, I mean, if you even look at last year, like, you had brought up, like, Derek Carr was, like, quarterback 4 or something like that. I mean, the Saints were steamrolling the league for, like, 4 weeks straight.
Yep.
It was insane. I'm like, how are they the best team in the football right now? Well, they weren't. But anyway, yeah, so this is what will absolutely happen, though. If someone so high profile as Caleb Williams, after getting the additions of the offensive line and the additions of the pass catchers that he's at, like, really, really got set up for success. But if he flops on primetime in front of the whole world, that value is going to tank a little bit. Like, people are going to be like, not want to be bag holders. And I think you can capitalize on that because I think he's going to have a lot longer leash than maybe some people will think he will have.
Absolutely. I think that's a great read on it. And I think that's the idea of some of these other ones we have here, right? Is kind of looking at these other ones and asking, for me, this is what the point of this is looking at some of these suggestions and asking ourselves, would we still be interested in the value? Like, what would happen to that value? And how we would approach that. So some other interesting profiles we have here. Want to hop into?
Yep. So we have Jonathan Taylor, Tuttle Warren, talking about just the Indianapolis offense in general. Like, we really like those players. Like, everybody loves Jonathan Taylor. Everybody likes Warren. Like, we're happy about those people, but we're not dumb to realize that situation is just, sad panda situation. Like, it's not. We're just hoping for the best, but probably going to expect the worst out of there. So if Indianapolis comes out there and is doing like, 19 points per game on average for the first 3 weeks, and, how's that going to make you guys feel about Jonathan Taylor, Tyler Warren? These guys are still pretty young, and I think respected and wanted in Dynasty at this point in time.
19 points a game sounds like an improvement from what they've been
I'm just saying, right? Less than 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, no, I feel you. It just sounds much better than what I feel like they've been scoring over the last season or so. But Yeah, I mean, I think for Warren, for sure, zero issues. Like, I don't really care what happens with Warren. Tight ends in general take time, but truthfully, I don't think he's going to take time anyway. So it's hard for me to see him not even, at least not getting the volume. I don't know if it turns into anything because of whatever the situation is, but early on, I think, the quarterback situation should be fine for him. If it doesn't go well, I'm good. I'll buy into Warren. I don't really care at all. Jonathan Taylor, I don't have really too many concerns with. I think I'd still buy into him most situations, but not necessarily like the running back profile I'm like trying to get into on all my teams unless I'm contending, which if there's a dip in value there for sure, like I think he'll be fine for the next couple of years here. Yeah. So I guess I don't have any issues. I think I'm going to just try to take advantage of the shitty quarterback situation and just hope it fucking gets right quickly, which for Tyler Warren, it's a much less concerning thing because he has such a long runway ahead of him.
What about you, Jake?
Yeah, I think I basically agree. I will say that Jonathan Taylor is going to be an interesting one versus Tyler Warren, even though I'm not the biggest Tyler Warren person. I had a lot of red flags with his profile, but I do think he'll have probably some pretty decent production in his rookie year, regardless, just because I do think that Daniel Jones, well, I know Daniel Jones. I know him personally. I know how he's taken away all of my love for the sport. He's ruined my love for the sport of football. He's prevented me from ever seeing a Giants game live again since I went to that game in San Francisco. It was that bad. But in all sincerity, I do think that Jonathan Taylor is in that weird bubble where if he does have a lackluster first 4 weeks of the season, the offense does probably stay relatively consistent in the sense of performance. There isn't necessarily going to be that much substantive like upside to a rebuilding team to try and get into a profile like that. So I would rather see maybe a like longer term move from another contending team, knowing that he's 26 going on 27. But I definitely do want to get into the profile itself. Like and the reason I added him is like, if he doesn't perform well, I don't think it has any relationship to him. And really is just down to the offense. And unfortunately, like there's going to be other players on this list that I think are going to fit that same threshold. But specifically Jonathan Taylor, I do think is an elite scoring running back when in a moderately decent offense. And he showed that even last year in Windows, he was able to score elite points even when the team couldn't move the ball. And that was pretty impressive.
Winner. He was a league winner last year. Absolutely.
And also a playoff ruiner with that stupid fucking fumble on the 1 yard line. Like, no joke.
Oh my God. I lost. He won that one game for me because he did still have a good game that week.
He did.
And he also lost. He also lost me a game with that. Yeah.
If he scores a touchdown, I win the championship.
Yeah,
exactly. It was that close. It was crazy. Yeah. Tony here. Daniel Jones hurt our Jake bad. Yes, he did. Question with the Colts is how confident Steichen keeps the job if they come out slow and look bad. Yeah, I think he's on the hot seat already, so it ain't going to take much for him to lose his job, in my opinion. They're going to have to be pretty damn good out the gate. This I'm not sure though might stymie Warren's early career value. Yeah, for sure. Maybe perceived, but I don't think we should fall into that trap. I think we should be buying into the value. Now, Jake, I agree. Like we weren't like super stoked about Warren. Like we're not like this guy's Gronk, but he's still a very quality tight end. Like I think he could still be a very decent player. So I'm not going to shy away from getting that profile, especially with the kind of hype that can be built up around him. Like it's, I think both. I wouldn't be terribly upset with being stuck with him if I got him for a good price, but also knowing that there's probably going to be a ton of windows to get out of him at a higher cost. So
completely valid.
Clarify.
Yeah, you defend yourself. You defend yourself, buddy.
I want to set the record straight that I'm not like Tyler Warren truther. Like that's really what I was getting at there.
Let Uriah move the show along, all right?
Sorry.
Near and dear to Willie's heart. Henderson usage in the Patriots. We saw what he did in preseason. We saw what he did in college, and he's an electric player and all that. He's still a rookie running back with a not super old veteran running back. He's not going to do lights out week 1, right? He's not going to do lights out week 2. Like I just don't see it. Like Ramondre Stevenson's still there. who's not a slouch. Yeah, maybe touchdown merchant or whatever you want to call it, but facts are it's Ramondre and then Travion. So you just really need to kind of temper expectations. I just think that the whole entire community saw enough from Henderson that they're not going to get scared off him for a long time. So even if he comes out 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and hasn't really had like a RB2 type finish or whatever, he's just getting a little bit of extra work here and there. Who knows how that offense is going to go? Billy, he's more keyed in than us, said just a few weeks back, he's still got a lot of question marks about the offense in general. We are high on Drake May, like improving from what he did last year, which was pretty decent. We'll see if they have a wide receiver that matters. Who knows? So the whole offense could be a thing. But I do believe that the hype around Henderson, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of movement there. Not for a while.
Why are you throwing some cold water on my Patriots? God damn it, man.
I was so excited.
I was so excited. I know, but I forgot I said it, and I was getting so excited for the season. You're absolutely correct, though. Absolutely correct, for sure. I mean, what I will say, though, is we should expect Henderson around like 8 carries, 8 targets, maybe more on the target side, but I would guess because like if we're like I'm expecting pretty much a split out of this backfield in some form or fashion, and so I would expect like 150 carries from both of these guys, Stevenson and Henderson. So my point being is like people are probably going to be disappointed. Is kind of my point. And so we should just expect that. And maybe year 2 that picks up, but he could still be super efficient and super good on those touches. That's still around 15 a game, right? Touches. And that's what you would be getting out of like a general workhorse running back, somewhere between 15 and 20. You could see those pick up here and there, I'm sure, in some games, but I'm not going to be scared off of whatever I see. I think that he's just a really, really good player. And so if there's any kind of window, I agree with you, Ryan, there's probably not going to be, but if there's any kind of window, or if we see maybe he gets, like I'm saying, maybe it's only 5, maybe it's 6 carries, and it's more targets or whatever week 1, and he doesn't do shit with them. It's like, I'm definitely going to go hunting. You know what I mean? Like maybe there's nobody bites, but like that's the time when you go hunting and you're like, all right, let me see if anybody wants to sell Henderson a little bit low.
I have nothing to add. No, I honestly have nothing to add. I think that's probably as spot on as it can be. And I don't really, I think the biggest fear will be if Antonio Gibson has any bit of a role. That will definitely scare the community, I think, more than not. And that would be the time to attack. So if Antonio Gibson is cutting into 6-7 targets out of the backfield, that would be, I think, a really good time to just be like, hey, interested in moving? Maybe I can move my James Conner and Caleb Johnson for Henderson or something like that to a contending team that needs points immediately. Like, yeah, those types of moves, I think, have a little bit more legs when there's like other friction in the backfield. If it is truly 50-50, like Billy is stating, like, I don't think there's going to be any friction. I think people will. Go ahead.
No, I think there's a real world where what you're saying happens. I didn't even mean to say a straight 50-50 split, though. Like, I do think that they are going to do something like what I said last week on something else, like a 40-40 or whatever it may be. But, like, Gibson's definitely going to get playing time, probably going to get injured somewhere along in the season. Like, that's literally how every season goes for him. So, like, yeah, fair. That'll happen, but it'll slowly trickle more over to the rookie, I think, as the season goes on.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, yeah.
All right. I think next one. Keeping an eye on Caleb Johnson's usage in Pittsburgh. Shout out Tyler Warren or Jalen Warren.
Jalen. Yeah.
Jalen, Jaden, Layden. Come on, people. Anyway.
Just get it all out, bro. Get it out.
Shout out to Mr. Warren securing the bag. He got a 2-year extension. So, of course, that means Caleb Johnson is dead. I do not think that. But just like we talked about with contracts getting done at the end of the season, I think Billy and I discussed this maybe about 3-4 weeks ago. Just wondering if it matters or not. I mean, he's getting rewarded for the work he's done already. And they want to keep him around, obviously, right? But it's basically, that's how I view these like 2-year contracts, 3-year contracts. Before the season ramps up, it's like, hey, man, you've been really good for us. Let's kind of keep it going, right? So that you expect that. But it is interesting. I mean, if you see, Caleb Johnson getting like 5 carries or even no carries in week 1, or you know, you could see, you know, the first few weeks where maybe he's just not getting used that much, and it's not exactly a prospect that the whole community's high on, or even a large majority is high on. You know, it's a smaller faction of people like me that really do think that Caleb Johnson is a very good running back. That one would be interesting, especially if you're somebody who does believe in Caleb Johnson's potential and skill.
Is that you?
Yeah, I mean, I would be going and adding him to places where I wasn't able to add him during the rookie drafts.
Fair.
Probably something that would feel even better than seeing him come out and ball out week 1, week 2, would actually to see him kind of slowly cook, where I could actually probably acquire a share to cheaper than I could today.
Yeah, like I hate that I fall kind of in the middle on this thing. Like,
that's okay,
because it's just because like I definitely don't think he's the prospect that you think he is,
Yeah.
right? Like, I don't think he's at that level. I also am not. I don't think he's the worst either. Like, I definitely think he can play in the league. You know what I mean? I'm surprised to see how negative the reports are of him, and so it makes me think, like, if what Uriah is saying happens, that I would also want to get in on him a little bit. Not so much because I think he's going to bounce back as a player per se, but I just feel like at some point he's going to have, you know, a 12 carry, 90-yard, 2 touchdown game, even if it was like 2 goal line touches, and it won't matter. Like, that's going to boost him up, and people are going to start, you know, seeing him for what they used to see him for, closer to like a first-round pick, and maybe I can get out on him at that value now. I don't know, Jake, is that like hopium, and would you just stay away from the asset altogether? Like, what do you feel?
Yeah, I'm stuck in a weird conundrum. I did this last offseason with Keon Coleman, got into a couple of profiles that I didn't particularly like, think I can get off of them before the season started. And unfortunately, the negative press has just made it borderline impossible for me to move Caleb Johnson.
Keon Coleman or Caleb Johnson?
Oh, no, I'm saying last year.
The current negative press has made it impossible to get out. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, Keon Coleman I was able to get off of because the press wasn't negative. And honestly, I might have been able to hold on to him until right now because it seems like the press is, once again, weirdly positive about it. But that's neither here nor there. I think that game is also really silly. It's like, where are the targets going to go? It's like, well, they didn't go to him last year. Was the room any better or any worse? No. So anyway, I do think that, like, specifically with Caleb Johnson, it's just one of those spaces where we're putting so much of his fate with a offensive coordinator that I just don't have a lot of faith in general. So, like, I don't have faith in the offense as a whole. I don't have faith in the way that he will manage players because we have seen him mismanage players in the past. He negatively impacted Bijan, in my opinion, in his rookie year. And he has negatively impacted other players in that offense. I won't speak their name. Drake London, Kyle Pitts. You could say to yourself that there were spaces, if he didn't leave, Drake London's fantasy value would be in the fucking toilet right now, right? So my biggest thing here is the faster we can get away from Arthur Smith and his like weird infatuation with like the specified players that he really likes, Johnny Smith up this year. Like, I do think that we just need to be very conscientious of where Caleb Johnson fits into the narrative. Caleb Johnson might win himself into a greater schemed role. And I just think he's one of those where we just need to be really patient about what that looks like. This to me reminds me a lot of the work that Uriah and I were talking about a few years back with Rashee Rice's rookie season, talking about just kind of the snap share. I'm not even talking about target share, just the snap share. If we can see Caleb Johnson being on the field slightly more every single game, there's a path for him. If it just stays static at around 15 to 20% for the first half of the season, there's just not a great path for him with Arthur Smith specifically. So then we just have to then hope that the Steelers don't make the playoffs so that the team is basically cleared out. And that's just not a game I want to be playing with. So that all being said, if I can find a week where Caleb Johnson scores a couple of touchdowns and people are optimistic and I'm owning him, I'm probably going to get out because I just don't like the bet that I have to attach to this offense the way that I have. And, I will openly admit that I fucked up by drafting Caleb Johnson when I did, not because of the asset, but because of the situation that I think basically is too unpredictable, except in the fact that that they're going to run the ball. So the longer you hold on to Caleb Johnson, the higher chance that he probably has to play, because Jaylen Warren or Kenneth Gainwell will probably end up getting hurt either way, because I just don't foresee this offense being super productive without them probably touching the ball a ton.
So what's just the last thing before we move off him? What's the floor price that you'd be comfortable getting in on now, or like between now and the next time that we could potentially get out of him is my point, really. So if somebody were selling him in the first 4 weeks of the season for a late second, are you comfortable getting in on that? Or does it need to be, okay, you are comfortable with late second and then trying to flip him for 2 or a first or something?
I think I'd be comfortable with basically all the way up to an early second. I think that's kind of my flat line. Yeah. So
I think we're close there, by the way. I think we're close to him being late second value already. Like just with where his kind of, like you said, the negative press is gone. So yeah, just something to think about.
All right. Next one.
Yeah, I agree.
We could talk to Caleb Johnson all night, but
I know. You'd love to. Tommy Blair here on the YouTube comments. Caleb Johnson was given the dynasty value of a second-round NFL drafted player who was drafted in the third. There's a huge base rates difference. Yes, in terms of hit rates, there's definitely a massive difference in his long-term potential, or the potential for him to actually hit top 12 or 24 season type thing. So the odds are less favorable for him, and it does seem like he's getting he got an unnecessary boost of value that the NFL did not quite see. So something to think about.
Yep.
All right. Next one, Brian Thomas Jr., quote unquote, splitting targets with Hunter. Yeah, it's going to happen. You should expect that to happen. Travis Hunter is a good wide receiver. We'll see what his usage looks like offensively, defensively. I think that's maybe more of the story here is how – I don't know if our Brian Thomas Jr. narrative or how we feel about him as a community is going to change a whole lot in the next few weeks. I could see maybe more of a change with Hunter as a possibility.
Fair.
I mean, even if Hunter is like a true wide receiver 2 there with Brian Thomas Jr. and Brian Thomas Jr. gets a few less targets than he did last year, I'm still not worried about Brian Thomas Jr. I saw what he did his rookie year. It's phenomenal. But I think there's a lot of hopium, or at least I think the expectation is high with Hunter. Whereas we already saw it with Brian Thomas Jr. At least I would hope that maybe most of the community would kind of think that way. That you already kind of have a guy that you've seen do it, right? And so now we're waiting around, expecting and hoping that Hunter does something similar, and we have yet to see that. So I think there's a chance that, say, Hunter, even just based on team needs or individual game needs for defense versus offense, those types of things, if the coach there is smart enough and utilizing this guy's talents both ways, we may see a shift where he's playing more defense one game versus the other because they need him out there. There's a lot of moving parts with Hunter that I think that could actually probably affect how we feel about him more than we do about Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah, I mean, I agree for the most part. I'm not going to be worried about Brian Thomas if there's a split, or if Hunter gets 12 and he gets 7 or something the first week. And I mean, I'm not going to really care about that. And I don't think there's going to be a significant sway on Brian Thomas either way. I kind of agree with Uriah there. I do think mostly this is about Hunter. I don't know. I just haven't gotten enough Hunter this offseason, while I feel like his value has been a little bit in flux, where people have been a little concerned because of the defensive stuff, yada, yada, yada. I'm not so concerned about that. I do feel like there is a world where his value skyrockets from where it's at. And so it's already pretty high anyway, no matter what. Like it wasn't going to be not high, right? It's just probably not as high as it could be. So if there's a reasonable way to, move into his value without giving up too much value, I'd definitely be comfortable doing that now, because I really do think that he's going, like, I see this being a lot more like, mainly on offense, and then they throw him in on situational defensive stuff, probably high value situations, but like situational. And I don't think that's something that he can't overcome as a player. So I'm not going to be worried about that stuff. And I do see a world where he could just blow up the first couple of weeks, and his value too.
Yeah, I don't know. This is a really weird circumstance, because I do think that it's one of those things where there was basically zero target competition in Jacksonville last year. Like, I'm really trying to basically Evan Ingram, Parker Washington-ish, mainly because Christian Kirk was injured for the majority of the season. Like, it just wasn't really present. And so it'll just be interesting what the fantasy output translates to now that there's something else. This is also me not being particularly high on Trevor Lawrence and how it also impacts the entire receiving room. So not this fucking conversation again. I know. I don't want to have that conversation again. I promise. I'm just saying.
I won't do it. I'll stay away.
The reason I brought it here was just because that is kind of where my head is at. I do think that I have been getting out of some Brian Thomas Jr. You'll see a trade of mine in the trades and non-trades, but it is a little fearful of what a room looks like and how it is being managed.
Jake fading all Jaguars due to Trevor Lawrence.
That's not true. That's not true. I've just gotten off of a couple of shares here and there, sprinkle and dinkle. Anyway, let's move on to another AFC South team.
Cool. So yeah, Calvin Ridley and Cam, what if they get shut down by the Broncos defense, which is projected to be pretty good because it was pretty good last year, and I don't believe that they had many subtractions. So it's very possible. It's a rookie quarterback.
When I say shut down, I mean like absolutely obliterated. Like I'm talking about
like interceptions, like all that,
120, 150 yards in the air. They're trailing the entire time. He still can't complete passes. Patrick Surtain is basically just lights out. Ridley is on 6 targets, 0 catches, or 1 catch for 17 yards. Like, abysmal.
Just ignore it and move on to week 2, because
exactly.
I think what you're describing, I don't think is outlandish. Like that could very much happen, and I think that we should probably not expect it to happen. But if it does happen, like that was probably the most realistic outcome for week 1 for this team. That'd be a situation where you just hold, or maybe even reach out and try to buy some Calvin Ridley after that. Like, hey, look, he can't even catch a ball. Like that. It's probably the most likely outcome that these Tennessee Titans offense is not able to move the ball the way they want to week 1. It's just a reality.
Throw on the all-22 and just make sure that it was the Broncos defense doing most of the work, and I'll move right on. I don't really care if I'm seeing what's his name, Cam Ward run around like a chicken with his head caught off. I might be a little more cautious, you know what I mean, to be like, let me see if this is 2 weeks in a row or something like that, instead of going and buying him. If it was more like just a rookie trying to get into the speed of the game and just bumps and stuff from the offense, and Pat Surtain just eating Calvin Ridley alive all day, like for sure, like that would make a lot more sense to me, because I do think that can happen. So I'm mostly in agreement with you guys. Like I'm probably going to be like, move on, but let me see the tape a little bit and just make sure that it wasn't like mostly on Tennessee and not mostly on Denver doing the work, right? I don't want it to be just like gimmies. I'd rather it be like Patrick Surtain making plays on a ball in tight windows that Cam Ward needs to learn how to kind of like throw, where at game speed. So that's the kind of thing I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's fair. I think regardless of tape, I'm still probably buying Ridley. And if that performance is there, like I'm just going to try and take advantage of it on a contender, knowing that maybe he's going to be my wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 type thing. I'm so confident that will turn around by playoff time that I just don't give a shit. And yeah, I think that's the bet, and the reason I put it here is because I feel so confident in that relationship improving as long as he doesn't get traded, which is also a viable option at some point this season. But that space for Ridley to kind of take on that role in your team potentially could even turn into a wide receiver 2, depending on how thin you are at wide receiver, is just a really, really good space to be in. So if you can get in for a second immediately after that game, I'm saying go do it and be really happy with the point scoring outcomes that you'll get later on in the season.
Great advice. All right. Next one, moving over to Minnesota. So Minnesota, Monday Night Football, bright lights. See if they're too bright for not quite rookie JJ McCarthy, but first year JJ McCarthy. Justin Jefferson, who's been proven to be pretty much quarterback proof, and TJ Hawkinson. So if he does go out there and they flop, again, it's kind of the same thing with the Cam Ward situation here. It's like, hey, man, one, we know that team is really well managed and run well, organization top to bottom. It's one of those more functional front offices, in my opinion. I think they'll figure out JJ McCarthy. JJ McCarthy won a college championship, so I don't think the lights will be too bright for them. He should be fully healthy. He has one of the best weapons in the entire game, along with TJ Hawkinson. So I don't really see them flopping on Monday Night Football, but if they do, I'm not going to be concerned whatsoever.
This is where context matters so much. I have much more confidence in this organization, the setup, the players around JJ McCarthy, that I would be much more willing to just buy into a dip, in this team holistically if they were to flop on Monday night versus the Bears. Like, okay, sure. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to buy Hawkinson and Jefferson. Like, these guys are going to be fine, like, in my opinion. And KSC is very likely to, get it right over the course of the season, almost with any quarterback. So, yeah, unless JJ McCarthy absolutely shits the bed and is just like terrible, like, which I don't think is going to happen.
I think we know he's not, though. But
even if there's struggles, like these guys, he would have to look so bad for me to get that concerned, and it's just something I don't foresee happening.
This is one of the situations where I really do dive in specifically to the tape. I think JJ McCarthy's performances aren't going to be statistical for me. They're going to be based off of the actual play calling that's in place for him and how much exposure Kevin O'Connell provides him to, one, basically making audibles at the line, how much faith he has with him in actually kind of shifting this offense and how quickly that comes about. So I don't expect it week 1 against Chicago. It's a big divisional game. It's going to be a Monday Night Football game. I think it's going to be conservative as all fuck, and Kevin O'Connell will want them to win that game for the kid's psyche, the whole thing. I think the biggest takeaway that we can get with it is going to be if he throws the ball probably less than 20 times, 18, 17, 16 times, something like that, there's going to be a lot of fear in the market. A lot of people are going to be scared. And I think the reality is that there's two different things here. There is player psychology and driving success within the player that I think will naturally grow over time. And then there's going to be situations where, you are literally scheming something up because of either a game situation or something else. We can't derive, I think, that information yet for JJ McCarthy. But what I will say is that if there is market panic on the receiving options in Minnesota or JJ McCarthy because of maybe less exposure to the passing game in week 1, I am definitely going to jump all over that, because that is not going to be, I think, a literate response throughout the entire season. It is just going to be an early season kind of confidence booster for them to grind out wins and make sure that this team is going in the direction that it needs to be going in.
Yeah, it's a great point. And to Tony's point here in the YouTube comments, I expect more flaps than not with how the preseason has been shortened. I'm not worried until week 3 or 4. It's a really great point, man. Like, and this is a good point, especially for the established teams where we're not so much like, is JJ McCarthy good or not? It's like, those are things we definitely have to give a little time, but it's also like, you can't be concerned about the Bengals if, they come out a little slow. It's like, they're going to be just fine. And to Tony's point, they haven't gotten a lot of work together, or as much as they typically should or would, or we'd like them to get, I should say. It just keeps getting shortened and shortened. Though I will say this preseason does feel like everybody was more on the same page of getting the starters some more time than they typically would in at least 2 of the 3 preseason games. So, they may have decided collectively, like, we got to get these guys playing some football, at least some football, before the season gets going. So hopefully it translates a little bit, but Tony's point is well taken. Nonetheless, we can move forward here onto the next one.
Najee Harris. Najee Harris. Well, if he gets a full workload and Omarion Hampton mainly is a pass catching work, it's possible. I mean, we got news that he will be playing. He will be starting. Maybe he'll only be able to see half the field. I don't really know, but
is it the open half?
I think just
always.
He might have better vision than Omarion
joke.
Hampton anyway.
I doctor tomorrow, so I should probably not joke.
Damn.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think we just got to understand that these coaches are going to want to play their vets if they're healthy, right? They're going to want to play their vets, and they're going to get Najee's going to get the first snap, right? And very likely going to get the bulk of the carries. Hampton was a guy that, like, you're hoping takes over later on, right? So I think that should be the expectation, that you're going to see a split there, and it's going to favor Najee over Hampton for at least a little bit. Again, this is a guy that I think that people are too high on, or at least invested in with draft capital, rookie pick draft capital, that there's going to be a long leash for Hampton there. I just don't. I don't see that, at least here in the future. Like, you're talking like week 1, week 2. I just don't think there's going to be enough to move the needle there. If anything, this might open up a really good sell window for Najee, because he's
great point.
You can't get anything for him.
So what happened was they tried to improve Hampton's vision by giving him Najee's eye. That's what this was. It wasn't actually a firework incident. They were just trying to help him out a little bit. Okay,
got that third eye, yeah.
I think, and even with the third eye, he still can't hit the hole. No,
yeah, because Najee's scent is now better because he can smell the end zone. That's how it works.
Yes, well done, well done. I think this is very similar to Henderson, kind of like the same message in a way, right? Like, I think it's going to be pretty much the same thing. Like, I think both of them are going to get nearly 150. Maybe Najee goes like 170 and it's less on, Hampton's side of things or something like that. But, like, I think we're kidding ourselves if we, like, as this story has progressed, like, in my opinion, what I'm hearing is Najee's healthy and he's going to play week 1. Like, there's no concern at this point, right? So I'm hearing 10 to 15 carries probably. Like, these guys want to run the ball. They definitely want to run the ball, right? He's going to have that kind of workload all year. And both of them are going to be involved. The dynamic player is Hampton for sure, just like Henderson, right? More work probably towards the end of the season. You can't be concerned if they don't get the full workload early on, and we shouldn't expect it. So, yeah, like, if there's dips in those values, for sure, let's take advantage of it. But Uriah was probably hitting the nail on the head here. Get your Najee shares now and sell him over the next couple weeks here when he inevitably gets most of the carries, or at least half, if not more of the carries, and probably falls in the end zone, more than a couple times.
You disgust me. This is the ricochet effect all over again. Let's keep it going.
Yes.
Let's keep it going.
All right. A couple more here. So what if Bryce Young stinks and, Tech suffers? I'm just going to go out there and say it's not going to happen because I've been willing it to not happen for a while now. But it could happen, right? It could happen. We could see, weeks 1 through 6 of the 2024 season of Bryce Young again and be like, oh, shit, this sucks. This is the last half of the last season must have been a fluke or something. But, I mean, the guy has he has weapons. It's almost like Caleb Williams type situation right here, where maybe not they didn't upgrade the offensive line as much as Chicago had, but they definitely brought in players. You got Tet there. Coker's on pup for now, but he was balling out last year.
Hunter Renfrow.
Hey, Hunter Renfrow is a very quarterback friendly wide receiver.
He's a really nice man.
You know, and he's likable. He lets his kid watch Bluey on his phone, which is great.
Saw that.
I mean,
He's so
ignoring the
relatable.
GM and
He's
the agent.
But I'll tell you right now, I know for a fact that people that are holding out hope for Bryce Young, if he does come out there 2 weeks in a row, like just kind of stinking it up, they'll be out on Bryce Young because those people were already in their minds probably out on Bryce Young the year prior and then got dragged back in last year. So they're almost waiting for him to fail and they'll be out on him immediately. Tet, he's a rookie. Too much invested in him. Like I don't see people are going to really sour on Tet unless like you were a contender and you're kind of hoping on him being like a wide receiver 1 type deal. Like you're planning on using him for actual points this year, then you might move off of him to some other vet and get something plus. But I just don't see a whole lot of Tet movement happening based on Bryce Young's play for the first few weeks. But bet your ass you could get discount Bryce if he goes out there and stinks it. If you want it, you might not even want it.
Yeah, I don't know if Bryce's value can survive another significant hit, a significant dip. Even like, and so my point being is like I agree that it would be a great window theoretically, but like, is there any point at that point? Now, I'm not saying the first week or whatever, but like if it's over the first like 6 games of the season, he sucks again. Like I don't think I'm gonna really want to get back in on him, but Tet, I'm not going to worry about it at all. Just going to hope that they figure out the quarterback situation over the next few years, and I will take any dip on Tet at that point. But yeah, I think that there is a world where this happens because like as much as there's weapons around him, like losing Thielen and then Coker, and I do think Renfrow as well is a good player. I actually agree, but I think those are quality players and guys he had chemistry with that he's lost now. And so I see a world where it doesn't go as well as we'd like. I kind of agree though. Like I don't think it's going to go this way, but that's the point of this segment. Any thoughts there, Jake?
No, I just wanted to say Tet's out.
Yeah. And aren't we calling him something he doesn't want to be called, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Teteroa.
Being lazy. It's Teteroa.
Yeah.
No, I want to be lazy. I'm definitely.
I can't do T-Mac. I can't do.
Yeah, that's fair. That's There's.
Is it because there's another T-Mac? Is that why?
There's only one
other T-Mac.
Yeah.
The basketball T-Mac. It's different sports though, right?
No. It has nothing to do with. Yeah, it's just there is one. There's only one. Bryce Young will not have a bad start to the season because Bryce Young is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. I don't actually mean that, but let's keep moving.
It's like, wow. All right. Last one here. I think probably more the implications are just what it's going to look like. So Matthew Stafford, epidurals, has broken his back plenty before. No, he's not having a baby.
I thought that was the scenario you were putting him in. I thought you were like, he broke his back. He has epidurals. What do we do? He needs epidurals.
It's a scary situation. Like by all accounts, if we knew 100% Matt Stafford is healthy, no lingering issues going into the season, like we're going to be super high on the whole thing. Like we expect a lot from McVay and Stafford, as you should, right? It's a good pairing, but this is a back issue, and it seems like I'm not a medical professional, but it does seem like it was teetering on treatment versus maybe surgery. And maybe those words weren't actually spoken out loud, but that's definitely, I think, a hint to that. And so that is scary, right? So we're dealing with a guy who already has injured his back multiple times, multiple seasons. What if they are slowly starting to maybe run the ball more, right? Try to give him less throwing attempts to start the season, kind of work him in slowly because he hasn't really done anything in the offseason. Not like a veteran like him really needs the practice, but just, actually really throwing 100%, and how often do they really want to limit him doing that early on? What's that going to do to like our Puka Nakuas or Devontae Adams, and so on and so forth? Do you guys see a situation where something like that could affect the rest of the players on the team?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I saw a video of him with the team doing like one of those social media, things. Man, he looks like he's been going through it, man. You just the beard and everything. I'm like, this guy is really been grinding probably through this off season. So
he looks like Waldman post RSP.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right. Exactly. Yeah, he's been put through the ringer for sure. So I definitely think he's going through something. But yeah, man, like I think that everybody's already worried. I mean, Devontae Adams' value is already taken the hit. Like, already there's already value on Devontae Adams in redraft leagues, even like anywhere you can go and see it. And yeah, I totally can see both Puka and Adams being impacted by this. Like, am I going to shy away from buying Puka? No. Am I going to shy away from Adams? For sure. Like, and those are really the only two assets I think that are really worth being concerned about in this conversation. I mean, obviously, if they're not performing, the running game is not going to be amazing either. But I'm much more concerned, I think, about the pass catchers. And I think my actions have kind of indicated such. I have not gone out and bought Puka. I actually sold the share of Puka I got from Jake, maybe back to Jake. Not exactly for this reason specifically, but his value is already, because of how high it is a little tenuous in general. Then you add in this situation with Stafford, and it makes it even harder to want to hold on to him at that value. So not a player I want to go and buy now, but if there's a dip, I see his value rising up a little bit. So I think that there's a world where you could get into him in a window, but for the most part, I'm staying away, I think, from the situation, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think you guys spoke through it well. This reminds me a lot of Peyton Manning's last year in the NFL, where he ends up winning a Super Bowl with an absolutely fucked back and could barely move in the backfield. And
it wasn't good fantasy wise either. It wasn't great.
No, it hurt. It hurt most of the offense. But they found ways to win games, and I think that's what Stafford will probably do. He will pay. Wow, I'm like talking from the other side of life. He will pay for his actions.
No.
But in all seriousness, he will
pay for these millions he's made.
He will play through the pain, is what I meant to say. And I think that he will push through depending on how competitive they are. If they are in a spot where there's a limited chance of them finishing the season in a playoff contending position, I can totally see them shutting him down early. And that has even more impact on Devontae Adams, especially long term. But Puka for playoff contending teams, things like that. So, just keep an eye out on how teams are structured. Is Puka their only starter for that position? Are there other places to get out or into Puka for those types of rosters? Is kind of the way that I would see it. But in terms of like rostering other quarterbacks on this team, it would be really interesting to me if we do see Kirk Cousins rumors bouncing around or things like that. And if we do, I think that means that the back injury is even worse than it is. I think no one talks about him, and I keep bringing him up, but I do think that he's one of those sneaky buys that people hate right now and can easily flip into a startable quarterback depending on what playoff proposed team ends up flopping out or getting into an injury early in the season, because he's the asset that can keep a team alive. So yeah, things to be mindful of.
That's a great point. Kirk Cousins is easily the best backup in the league right now. Like, as it stands where he sits, he's easily the best backup, and he's probably going to get moved, to Jake's point, to start somewhere at some point.
Jackson Dart.
But that could be a great situation.
I did think about the Giants there.
To be honest with you, though, like between Stafford and Kirk Cousins, if those were the two halves of the season, I think the pass catchers would be fine. Like, I think that both those guys could sustain 6 or 7 games or whatever it is, and I think you'd be totally okay. So in that situation, if there was a dip because of the Stafford stuff, and you could kind of foresee that coming, that would be a great I think, flip, or just like you could buy those assets and not be concerned about what you're getting from them the rest of the year is kind of my point. So good stuff there.
Cool. That was also a very good segment. We have trades and non-trades to finish off, and this would be my time to let you guys take care of that. So, thanks for having me on. I'll see you guys next week. Good luck this week. I'll see you guys in the Discord.
Good luck.
I can't wait for all that. But rest of you guys have a good night. I'm out.
Good luck unless you play me.
Later.
Yeah, fuck you if you play me.
I actually did want to say this here. Tony did say Bennett looked good, man. I actually like. It's funny, like no, not necessarily to the comment that he looked good, but if there was a situation where that happened on rebuilders, I'd be comfortable getting into Puka, I think, at that point, because of all the things that happened there, which is one, his points, his production is going to be slightly lower than it would be, so it's not adding the crazy totals to your max points for as a rebuilder. Also, his value is almost inevitably going to jump up when he gets a quarterback or moves or whatever the situation is. So I do see a situation where Bennett gets in there and I want to buy, and then you get the ancillary benefit of maybe Bennett does get right, and it is a decent season and he looks good and his value increases for that reason alone right there. He's just producing, right? And then you can get out of him then too. So I don't think that's a likely situation, but I just, as a rebuilder, I think your risk is mitigated significantly, and it's like, go for it at that point is kind of my point. Yeah. Okay. Trades and non-trades. Let's get on with it. So Sgt. Pepper's, this is Jake's league. We have
it's a DU tangential league.
I'm sorry. I should say Jake commissions the league. It is a DU World League. We'll put it that way. It's a D Universe League. Okay?
D Universe.
You like that? You like
no,
that?
I hate
no. I'm gonna act like you like it, and like that reaction was like, wow, that's so good, Billy. Okay, that's what I'm taking. As Sgt. Pepper's, is this the best ball league?
No. This is standard lineup tiered PPR.
Okay, tiered PPR. So 0.5 for running backs, 1 for wide receiver, 1.5 for
1.75. It's just like DU5, yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, beautiful. So we have Xavier Legette, Ricky Pearsall for DJ Moore, Keishon Butte, and 26 second. DJ Moore, Keishon Butte, 26 second for Legette and Pearsall. I will take the DJ Moore, Booty, and the 26 second side on this one. Fine assets on the other side. Legette, I think, is an anchor in a bad way for this other side. And I think the hype on Pearsall is kind of getting a little out of hand. So I really think DJ Moore, I've said it a couple times on this pod, I think role is going to be different, but I could see him having a lot of volume and still being pretty productive. Booty, I think, could surprise and be pseudo wide receiver to kind of the X role, right? Like he's just going to kind of slot into there because nobody else can really play it. And I can see him doing well this season, having kind of a third year breakout. And then 26 second. Yeah, I like all the assets on that side far better than the other side.
Yeah, I love that terminology that you used for Legette. He is the anchor in a bad way. He is the torpedo for this entire trade. You have sunk my
staying with the naval terminology.
Yeah, exactly. And you, sir, have sunk my battleship. Yeah, I'm completely with you. I like the way I see it is I never want to get into Legette, and so Pearsall for DJ Moore, Butte in a second feels like it's that size. Like I know Legette isn't technically negative value, but from everything that I've seen from a film perspective, I've been out on him very early. Billy can, agree with the fact that I've been obnoxious basically all offseason about how much I've hated him, how much I think he has unfortunately been a detriment to the offense, how his touchdowns were lucky, defenders falling, him tripping over his own feet. But in the grand scheme,
he has a hate book for Leggett. He has a full hate book.
Daniel Jones and Leggett, they're soon going to be starring in my first ever children's illustrated book called I Hate Xavier Leggett and Daniel Jones. It's not a very creative title, but that is where it's coming. And it's,
you know what you're getting into when you read it, though.
Yeah, it's literally a book about hating everyone equally. And so we are talking about two assets.
This is really about equality, if we're being honest here. This is a book. Okay,
So stupid. I'm so stupid. I'm sorry. This is why Uriah leaves.
It was actually pretty good. I think that it was funnier than most will give it credit for, to be honest with you.
But yeah, I think this is pretty much a smash on the DJ Moore side. Yeah,
Okay.
I just don't want to play the ceiling game on the other side. So yeah.
Good point. All right, solid. All right, we have the Medical Dynasty League. Yes, Dynasty League. This is actually a non-DU universe league.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we have two trades here. So we'll start with the first one from Medical. We have a Tony Pollard for a 26 late second. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm fine if this is what you do and you get out of Pollard for the second. I just feel like there's a lot of potential to get out for more than that if you're just patient with it for the first 4 to 6 weeks. Yes, over time, he probably can't handle the workload he's going to get, but I think that they proved last year they want to give him the workload. Tyjae Spears, goddamn, is injured. And so I think that we could see a couple 15 to 20 touch games. We saw 31 carries from him in a game last season. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. They just feed him early on. Also getting some pass catching work. I can see 2 seconds in the near future, potentially a first round pick. If you have some explosive games, if you have some 3 explosive games, like 20 points, 18 points, you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. Like you're gonna get off of him for a first round pick. But I think realistically, 2 seconds is the target goal there. And I think you can get out of that. You can get more than that second, at least a second and a third for sure early in the season.
Yeah. If I had maybe if this was a few days ago before the unofficial depth chart chat and everyone's cereal, this is the perfect trade to get into Pollard. And if you have someone like JCM, Bill, whatever you want to call him, pair them up together and try and get into a first. I feel like you could probably do something like that. So to your point, Pollard with 3 explosive games and you add a third to him, you're easily getting into a first. That's the way to do it. So I agree with you. I don't. This was one of those weird trades. Someone posted basically their value for him in the chat and got exactly what they wanted. The person trading for him, the running back room, was just Caleb Johnson, Chris Rodriguez, Damian Pierce, Emmanuel Wilson, and Lan Larison. So they just acquired their starting running back. The way that I see it is don't help other teams, especially when you're both contenders. This was one contender to another. Don't do it. Just don't do it. This is the prime example of you just helped a guy who's running back room
for cheap. Yeah.
Look like dog shit. Look like probably the worst running back room in the league that had very mild chances of actually having a starter week 1, and you just gave them a starter for a late second. So just something to be mindful of is kind of the way that I see it is it's a full picture game. And just because the asset might not fit your roster, think about how it's going to fit others and then try and maximize what that value looks like. But I think all in all, I get the process. It's just be a little bit more expansive with how you want to view what that value looks like.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine waiting week 2 and fucking them over even more, or you know what I mean, and you get 2 seconds from them instead, and now you've hurt your competitors' future value too, and their ability to purchase other assets. Tommy loves that from Jake, of course. Anytime you can impact the league and you can shift energies, I think that's what Tommy's looking to do, and I agree. Definitely preach, Jake, preach. All right, let's keep it pushing here. Same league, Medical, and this is, I'm assuming, what full PPR, just normal tight end, full PPR 1.5 premium, tight end premium.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
And these are all super flex leagues.
Correct.
Okay, so we have Jaden Daniels, Roma Dunze, Lad McConkey. This is a big boy trade. All right, so we have Jaden Daniels, Roma Dunze, Lad McConkey, Jordan Love, Brian Thomas Jr., Egbuka, and Bill and JCM. Yeah, man, that's a big boy trade. I remember this one going down now, and I stick with Jaden Daniels, Odunze, and Ladd. I think it's enough. I think the upside with Daniels covers some value. Love plus, on maybe like Igbuka-ish, and then you're getting kind of Odunze and Ladd for BTJ, JCM if we want to kind of split it down a little bit. Something like that is how I'm kind of breaking it down. And I think both ways, if you break it down into those pairs, you like the Daniels, Odunze, Ladd side of this, if you're being honest with yourself. So, I think it's a good way to almost like you're tiering up at quarterback, you're tiering down a little bit at wide receiver, but also sideways at wide receiver, right? So it's kind of, if you can do a hand motion, you're going a little bit down, but more sideways than anything. And then you get such an increase in value from Jaden Daniels, both production-wise and dynasty value-wise. That's the side I would go with.
Yeah, that was me. I was trading with a contender, and I had been texting Billy a little bit about the first offer, which was sent to me, which was basically the same thing without Odunze and JCM or Bill. So I think the person who sent it knew and could tell that there was already a gap a little bit in the value to begin with, even though I had posted that trade in a few different places and people thought that the Daniels Ladd side was actually the better value. I just couldn't get with it. So I figured maybe there's a space for us to work with. I was pretty transparent with the other person. We're close friends, so I try and stay transparent with those folks, except for Billy. That guy can go fuck himself. And so, we talked through it and got to this spot, and I did feel pretty good about it, even though I do think that I take on a little bit of risk on all three assets. On Daniels, I think I'm acquiring him at basically ceiling. I think Ladd, I'm acquiring him basically at ceiling, and I think Odunze, I'm acquiring him at a fluctuation point. I don't know what you want to call this weird hybrid period, but it's a little bit terrifying not knowing what his value could be. So I really do like I have like a weird affinity towards Jordan Love, even though I know like from like a point scoring asset, he is good, not great, even though I believe he did finish QB6, I want to say, in standard scoring format. So 4-point touchdown, 1-point interception 2 years ago. And injuries clearly derailed his season last year. But Brian Thomas Jr. is probably as close to ceiling value as he might get. I think he might creep into like tail end of Superflex startup drafts at the end of the first round, maybe as the other guys start to age out. But I'm not super confident in that. And then Egbuka, I do think, is one of those assets who is kind of at and really close to a pretty high point in his value already. Like we're talking about, hasn't played it down yet. I've had folks tell me that he's worth 2 firsts. Like we're talking craziness, right? Like I drafted this guy at the 109 in this league, which was probably a little bit higher than I wanted to, but I did want to get into some Egbuka, which is funny because I got out of him. But this is one of those where I felt like it fit my build well. It still kind of propelled me and kept me into my rebuild without pulling me out. I'm still projected lowest scoring points in the league and kind of insulating more value, I think, in quarterback than I was prior. So there's kind of where my thought process is. And we don't always get to cover our own trades on the show, so it is kind of nice to provide some thought processes to why I was doing it, even if people might think that I lost on it, which is totally fine. I think that's how these trades go. I think you post these in 3 different Discords, and hopefully a good trade will show up close to 50-50 amongst all of them. So that's the way I see it. But yeah, it was a good one. Thanks to Billy for the feedback, because I don't know if I would have pulled the trigger even with the counter, but he kept me right and was like, yeah, don't be an idiot. So yeah, we were good.
Yeah, and I do think that it's a good trade overall in general. Like both teams got really good assets. So
agreed.
You can make an argument for sure both ways on it. I just see it as one side having a little bit more upside overall. So, okay, cool. I was just looking this up. In a 10-team, 1 QB league, I got Egbuka at the 202. on May 4th.
10 team. So the 112.
Yeah. Like,
Okay.
I'm just saying his value is that's just his value is so low at one point. Like end of the first round was significantly low. I just think that's pretty crazy to think about where it is now. Like I don't think he would make it past the 107, or something around that area, most likely.
Definitely.
Today. So anyway, okay. 12 team Superflex tiered PPR. We have Saquon for Jackson Dart and Tyler Warren. Holy crap, that is a crazy tough trade. But like if I feel like you
actually, sorry. I forgot to add it's 2 Superflex. So you start up to 3 quarterbacks.
Oh, good God, that changes things so much. So 12 team, 2 Superflex, start up to 3 quarterbacks, tiered PPR. Wow, what I was gonna originally say is I think you keep Saquon and try to trade him for something better, which is still possible, but God, that 3 quarterback stuff changes things so significantly where it's like if Dart hits, then it's his Dart side so easily. Like, and that's Tyler Warren, right? Not Jalen. It's Tyler
Correct.
Warren.
Yeah, it's Tyler Warren.
Okay.
Sorry. Yes.
So no, I just want to make sure that he has more value. Yeah. Man, I could see myself wanting to just, if I got this offer, and I had Saquon, I'd probably be like, I'm really seeking higher return, to be honest. But this is basically 2 firsts for a very old running back who is most likely going to have a worse season than he did last year. Yeah, in that format, I'll probably take Dart and Warren, man.
Yeah, same. I saw this trade and I was like, at first, I went through the same grievance as you. I was like, oh, it feels light for Saquon. And this kind of aligns with some of what I was talking about in the what did we learn in the non-point scoring season? Like, I do feel a little overwhelmed with all my different leagues and all their scoring settings and their formats. Sure, and then I looked at my roster. I was like, wait, I'm starting Justin Herbert, Drake May, and JJ McCarthy. Fuck. We have 3 startable quarterback positions here. This is actually a really solid return. Like, I think that it's definitely the Dart and Warren side. So this is one of those where it's just like, understand your settings. Don't just think that the value is the value because Saquon for 2 rookies is good value. Like, I think you're giving up a lot here, especially if you're in a build that maybe you only have 2 starting quarterbacks and Dart was your 3rd quarterback and he could have slotted into the 3rd Superflex, by week 10 or week 11 or whatever it might be. This just feels really short-sighted. Like, that's just kind of the way I see it, especially in these types of scoring settings where quarterback is going to run supreme. I just don't get it. So
yeah. And the other thing is, if you have a quarterback with the upside that Jackson Dart potentially has, and he hits, like in that league, it's such a value, and you just got off of a descending value for ascending values. And yeah, I think in that format, it's hard to get away from the quarterback side there, especially having a near elite asset attached to it, right? Like, we may not think so, but perceived value wise, for sure, short term, that's elite dynasty value that you possess with Warren that you can either utilize to move on from or, choose to sit on for a little bit and hope he hits the heights. So definitely a very, very interesting trade. Interesting format too. Really cool. Okay. Last one here we have Tyrone Tracy, Demario Douglas, Pop Douglas, Christian Kirk for David Montgomery, Jaden Reed, and Najee Harris. I'll let you give your thoughts on this one, as it is my trade.
Is this chalk, like 12 team Superflex? PPR?
Sorry, this is 12 team. It's a Devy league, but that doesn't really matter because there's no Devy assets involved in this. So it's 12 team Superflex, start 13 or start 12. It's very deep starting lineups, and I think it's. I don't know if this matters in this trade at all. Let me see. It doesn't matter in this trade, that next part. So yeah, it's pretty much just like start 12 or start 13. I forgot. And then typical Superflex PPR.
Okay.
With a 1.5 tight end premium. Yeah.
Yeah. Knowing that it's start 13. 13, I would definitely go for the Monty, Reed, and Najee side. I think that they hold more value in that scoring setting. I just don't. I think we have a lot of hope for what both Pop Douglas and Christian Kirk can do in their offenses. Christian Kirk just popped up today with a hamstring injury. Like,
shocker.
Yeah, I know, right? He very well could get usurped by a Jalen Noel really quickly. And like, he just feels like such a risky asset. And the same thing with Pop Douglas. Like, there is this incredibly Caucasian man by the name of Efton Chisholm, who we all know is pulling at the heartstrings of every Bostonian right now that has zero melanin in their blood and in their skin. So I think like we are looking at a place where two of these assets might have borderline zero value moving forward, whereas the other three I think are all startable. The one caveat is Jaden Reed. Like, I think Jaden Reed is the big elephant in the room. What the fuck do we do with Jaden Reed? Oh my God. Jaden Reed. Like, he's got a Jones fracture. Jones fractures are no joke. Is he going to play on it? He wants to play on it. Oh my God, Jaden Reed. I don't know the answer to any of that. Like, I completely am understanding and forfeiting the Jaden Reed thing up to Jaden Reed might be a miss for 2025, and you might potentially lose, quote unquote, a starter here. But I would still be happy with the long-term future if Jaden Reed does get the appropriate medical attention to his injury moving forward, even though he has openly stated that he wants to play on it. That being said, Monty and Najee are just going to be better point scoring assets than I think most of the other assets will be on the other side. And that's why I would choose that side.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, even with Reed missing most of the season, which I'm basically making this trade expecting him not to play, I still think that side carries more long-term value.
Same.
Like, and I'm a Patriots fan. I actually made this deal with Jagger, a good friend of the show, been on many times. Love you, Jagger. Also a Patriots fan as well. And I know that he's probably hearing the same things I'm hearing, that Pop is like just been so dug in, just learning all the knowledge he needs to for the offense, and him and McDaniels and everybody are just kind of on the same page. So I can understand wanting to get into this, but I too feel that he has somebody breathing down his neck. Also, Stephon Diggs is probably going to eat at that role a little bit, if nothing else. And then Tracy and Kirk, I'm just not super confident in. Like, I talked about Kirk a week or two ago for sure. They clearly want him to be in the starting rotation for them, but older guy who's dealt with injuries. And then Tracy, they just drafted Cam Scatabo. Like, there's no guarantee whatsoever that he's going to carry any long-term value. And then I see on the other side, David Montgomery in an amazing offense that he's always done really well in. I see Jaden Reed, just an asset that I think standalone when healthy is better than any two of the assets on the other side in terms of dynasty value. And then Najee Harris, who wasn't even included in the original deal. The original deal was just Monty and Reed for Tracy, Douglas, and Kirk. And Jake helped me push me a little bit. It was like, if that's the first offer, I'm definitely going to counter. And my counter was adding Najee. That was really the only asset that I felt had any value, but also wasn't too much asking for too much because it was already a decent deal. And so I think, that right there is an example of how Najee's value is so low right now. And I think, and this was before, and it was before the news that he was going to be starting week one. This was like, 4 or 5 days ago, right? It wasn't that long ago, but it was a couple of days before it was really like ramping up, like, oh, Najee's back in the lineup. And I think everybody's just like, Hampton and Henderson are taking it over completely, which I think for the most part, that's a true statement. But early on in this season, I think we're going to see a lot of usage by these other guys, like we've already talked about. So that was the idea, was just getting into a couple assets that I think carry more value long-term, and also one that I think is going to rise in value that I could, both use in my lineup, but also move on from if I need to for something. So yeah, it's an interesting trade. Somebody actually, when the trade went down in the chat, was like, sent them the gift, but why? Which kind of true, but I think more to the other side. Like, why did you make this move necessarily? It's like you could have just held all these assets and been probably just about fine. And I think I agree with that. Like, even for myself, I could have probably, but I think I extracted a little bit of value on this, is kind of what I think.
I think you extracted more than a little bit of value, and you turned it also into point scoring assets. Like, that's the thing, is like, there is definitely a place where the assets that live on the Tracy Douglas Kirk side just don't score enough to even want to be starting them. And I like Tyrone Tracy, but he has a very serious issue where he fumbles the football. There's a reason why there's a reason why the Giants drafted Cam Skattebo, who notoriously isn't very good, I think, at this level of football. And so, like, it's pretty amazing to me that Joe Shane and fucking Brian Dable have found a way to truly bring in 2 running backs who, 1, can't hold on to the football, 2, pass protection, pretty fucking mid, 3, aren't amazing football players. Like, they're good athletes, but like, they aren't at the level that you want them to be. And so,
I mean, I agree with that, but I think Skattebo, the way he plays, is like the definition of a football player, at least in college. It may not translate, but
yeah, that's a good point. Yes, it may not translate he is literally like prime, should be like Heisman candidate in college football, and probably shouldn't play down.
1950s.
It should play down in the NFL. Like, it is that drastic.
Yeah.
He is a lot of fun to watch against children. He is not going to be a lot of fun to watch against adults. So all of that to say, like, I do think that there is a space where, you know, Tracy does have a split backfield, like we were concerned about in New England, like we were talking about before. Like, this could be split between Devin Singletary, Tyrone Tracy, and Cam Skattebo, and it's ugly as fuck. Like, it is so ugly.
The difference is that we expect explosive, dynamic, good play out of New England and out of LA. And New England, we probably shouldn't even expect it out of, to be honest. We were just doing that because we're like, holy shit, Henderson looks amazing. But to Jake's point here, this is a split with players who are not that explosive, not that dynamic, in an offense that is, I don't want to say like we should expect to be struggling necessarily, but is not a high octane offense by any means, or that we should expect a ton out of. So 150 carries there is different than 150 carries over in LA, is my point.
Yeah, that's you're correct.
Yes. All right. Well, we don't need to harp on this anymore. Fun trade section.
2 hours.
The trade. I won the trade. I'm just kidding. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, are we shocked that we went almost 2 hours with you coming back for first episode? No, we're not shocked at all. It was a great episode. Thank you all for joining and staying with us the entire time. If you're not in Discord, check the show description and get in the Discord. We love talking to y'all. It's been really popping in there, and I have no doubt starting tomorrow, Friday, Sunday, it's going to be electric in there, and we're going to have a lot to talk about. So I look forward to it. With that said, for Jake, Uriah, Billy, we're going to get out of here. You can catch us at Dynasty Underdog on the socials. We'll catch you next week, guys. Peace out.